The world outside is growing quiet, and a story is waiting for you in the stillness. Welcome to Midnight Murmurs Studio, your safe harbor from the noise of the day. Find a comfortable place, close your eyes, and let the story begin. Before our story begins, a gentle reminder for your peaceful rest. For the deepest sleep, it's best to keep your phone at a safe distance from your head. So please take a moment to place your phone on a nearby table or chair. And while it's in your hand for this last moment, a quick tap on like and subscribe becomes a quiet signal to us, a soft murmur in the dark that lets us know these stories are a comfort to you. It's what keeps our studio going. Thank you for that. Now, settle in and let the outside world fade away. In the winding, mist-covered district of Old York, where the cobblestones were perpetually slick with rain, and the street lamps hummed with a low electric buzz, stood a shop that most people walked past without noticing. It was narrow, squeezed between a bakery and a noisy pub, with a sign that swung creakily in the wind. The Mender's Nook, we fix the unfixable. The windows were dusty, crowded with items that seemed to have no connection to one another. A porcelain doll with one eye, a brass telescope that couldn't see stars, a pocket watch that had stopped ticking in 1920. To the casual observer, it was a graveyard of junk. But to those who knew, truly knew, it was a place of last resort. The apprentice of the shop was a young man named Leo. Leo was 22, impatient and ambitious. He wanted to fix things quickly, to use modern tools and shiny new parts. He saw the broken items as puzzles to be solved for money. But the owner, Mr. Abernathy, was different. Mr. Abernathy was a man carved from ancient oak. He moved slowly. His hands were gnarled and stained with oil and varnish, and he spoke very little. He spent his days sitting behind the counter, polishing the same piece of brass over and over, seemingly doing nothing. Leo often wondered how the shop survived. They rarely sold anything. People brought in broken items, heirlooms, memories, and left them on the counter with tearful pleas. Mr. Abernathy would simply nod, write a tag with a trembling hand, and say, "Come back when the fog clears." The mystery, however, was not in the taking. It was in the returning. Items that Leo swore were beyond repair, shattered vases, rusted gears, water-damaged paintings, would be found the next morning on the workbench, perfectly restored. Not just glued back together, but healed. They shone with a luster they hadn't possessed even when new. Leo had never seen Mr. Abernathy work. The old man always locked up at 6 p.m. sharp and shuffled up the stairs to his apartment. Leo would lock the front door, leaving the broken things in the dark. Yet by morning, the miracle would have happened. "Who fixes them?" Leo had asked once. Mr. Abernathy had just smiled, a sad, secretive smile. The shop has its own ghosts, boy. Or perhaps the objects fix themselves when they realize they are loved. Leo didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in mechanics, and he was determined to find out the truth. One rainy Tuesday in November, the bell above the door chimed with a desperate urgency. Cling, clang. A young woman stumbled in, shaking water from a ragged umbrella. She was clutching a violin case to her chest as if it were a baby. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her face pale. She looked like a music student, perhaps from the nearby conservatory. "Please," she gasped, placing the case on the scratched wooden counter. "You have to help me." Mr. Abernathy looked up from his newspaper. He adjusted his spectacles slowly. "Breathe, child. What is the trouble?" With trembling hands, the girl opened the case. Leo leaned over the counter and gasped. It was a disaster. The violin, clearly an old and expensive instrument, was crushed. The neck was snapped clean off, the body was splintered, and the strings were tangled like a bird's nest. It looked like it had been run over by a carriage. "It was my grandfather's," the girl whispered, a tear sliding down her cheek. I slipped on the stairs. My recital is in 3 days. The other shops, they laughed at me. They said it's firewood." Leo shook his head. He knew wood. He knew stress points. "I'm sorry, miss," Leo said gently. "But they're right. The structural integrity is gone. To fix this, you'd need to rebuild it entirely, and even then, the sound would never be the same." The girl's face crumbled. She looked at Mr. Abernathy, pleading silently. The old man reached out and touched the splintered wood. He didn't look at the cracks. He closed his eyes and ran his fingers over the varnish, as if feeling for a pulse. "It is in pain," Mr. Abernathy murmured, "but it is not dead." "Can you fix it?" the girl asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Leave it," Mr. Abernathy said. "Come back tomorrow morning." Leo stared at his master. This was madness. It would take a team of master luthiers a month to restore this, and the old man was promising it overnight? Mr. Abernathy's hands shook when he held a teacup. How could he align splintered wood with microscopic precision? The girl left, hope warring with doubt in her eyes. Leo turned to the old man. "Sir, you can't be serious. That violin is destroyed. You're going to break her heart twice." Mr. Abernathy stood up slowly, his knees popping. "The heart is resilient, Leo, and so is wood. Now, finish sweeping the floor. It's almost closing time." That evening, the rain turned into a torrential downpour. The wind rattled the window panes of the shop, making the hanging lanterns sway. At 5:55 p.m., Mr. Abernathy did what he always did. He wiped down the counter, turned off the main lights, and headed for the stairs. "Good night, Leo," he said, his voice raspy. "Don't linger. The damp is bad for young bones." "Good night, sir," Leo replied. Leo waited until he heard the heavy footsteps of the old man fade away on the floor above. He heard the door to the apartment close and the bolt slide home. Leo didn't leave. Instead, he flipped the sign on the door to closed, turned off the remaining lamp, and crouched down behind a large grandfather clock in the corner of the shop. He had prepared a thermos of coffee and a thick blanket. Tonight, he was going to catch the ghost. He was certain Mr. Abernathy was outsourcing the work. Maybe he had a secret partner who came in through the back door? Or maybe the old man wasn't as frail as he pretended to be. The shop plunged into darkness, illuminated only by the street lamp outside filtering through the wet glass. The shadows stretched long and eerie. The ticking of 100 clocks filled the silence, a chaotic, rhythmic heartbeat of the room. Tick-tock, tick-tock, click, whir. Leo settled in. He watched the workbench where the shattered violin lay in its case, looking like a corpse in a coffin. Hours passed. The city outside went to sleep. The sounds of cars and carriages faded, replaced by the steady drumming of rain. The shop felt different at night. In the day, it was just a store. At night, it felt alive. The wood seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting with the temperature. The eyes of the porcelain dolls seemed to catch the stray beams of light. Leo fought to keep his eyes open. The rhythmic ticking was hypnotic. It was like a lullaby designed to pull him under. His head nodded. He jerked awake. He drank some coffee. Midnight came and went. Nothing happened. Leo began to feel foolish. Maybe the old man really was crazy. Maybe he would come down in the morning, find the violin still broken, and make up some excuse to the girl. At 1 a.m., the rain softened to a drizzle. The silence in the shop deepened. And then Leo heard it. It wasn't the back door opening. It wasn't a secret partner sneaking in. It was a sound from the stairs. Creak, pause, creak. It was the slow, shuffling step of Mr. Abernathy. Leo held his breath. He watched through the gap in the clock case. The door to the stairwell opened. A figure emerged, holding a candle. It was indeed Mr. Abernathy, but he looked different. He wasn't wearing his usual oil-stained apron. He was wearing a formal velvet vest, old and worn, but dignified. His posture was straighter, and most shockingly, his hands, the hands that shook when he drank tea, were steady as rocks, holding the candle. He walked to the workbench. He didn't turn on the electric lights. He lit 3 oil lamps that Leo hadn't even noticed before. The light was soft, golden, and warm. Mr. Abernathy looked at the broken violin. He didn't sigh. He didn't look overwhelmed. He looked at it with a gaze of infinite tenderness, like a doctor looking at a sick child he knows he can cure. He reached under the counter and pulled out a box Leo had never been allowed to touch. It was made of dark mahogany. He opened it. Inside were tools that gleamed in the candlelight, chisels, clamps, and brushes that looked like they belonged in a museum. Leo watched, mesmerized. The atmosphere in the room shifted. It wasn't just a repair job anymore. It felt like a ritual. The old man rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms that were surprisingly muscular for his age. He picked up a piece of the shattered wood. He held it to his ear and tapped it gently. Tap, tap. He was listening to the density, the resonance. Then he began to work. But he didn't work like a carpenter. He worked like a conductor.
Leo watched from behind the grandfather clock, barely daring to blink. The scene unfolding before him felt like witnessing a secret ritual. Mr. Abernathy sat on a high wooden stool. He adjusted a magnifying loupe over his right eye, the brass frames glinting in the candlelight. He picked up the neck of the violin, a piece of maple wood that had been snapped violently. To Leo, it was garbage. To Abernathy, it was merely separated. The old man dipped a small brush into a copper pot that was sitting on a small heater. A faint, earthy scent drifted through the shop, the smell of hide glue. It was an ancient adhesive used for centuries by master craftsmen. It smelled of history. With a movement smooth as flowing water, Abernathy applied the warm glue to the fractured ends of the wood. He didn't rush. He didn't hesitate. His hands, which during the day trembled with the frailty of age, were now moving with the precision of a surgeon. Leo realized then that the trembling wasn't weakness. It was a vibration of energy, a restless power that only settled when the hands found their purpose. When holding a tool, when fixing a broken thing, Mr. Abernathy became whole. He pressed the two pieces of wood together. Creak, snap. A tiny, almost inaudible sound echoed in the quiet shop as the wood fibers interlocked, remembering their original shape. Abernathy held it there, eyes closed, counting silently. He was waiting for the glue to bite, for the bond to begin.
Then came the body of the violin. It was splintered, a jagged wound running down the spruce face. Abernathy opened his mahogany box again. He took out a series of small wooden shards, cleats, Leo realized. These were tiny bandages made of wood, designed to reinforce cracks from the inside. The old man inserted a long, slender tool through the F-hole of the violin. He maneuvered it by feel alone. He was working blindly inside the instrument, placing the cleats with impossible accuracy. Tap, tap, tap. He used a tiny hammer to gently tap the wood into place. The sound was rhythmic, soothing. It wasn't the sound of construction, it was the sound of healing. Then came the clamps. Abernathy had dozens of them, small brass and wood clamps that looked like miniature torture devices, but were actually instruments of salvation. He applied them one by one around the body of the violin. Twist, tighten, twist, twist, tighten. The soft squeak of the screw threads was the only noise competing with the rain outside. With every turn of a clamp, the shattered pieces were pulled closer together. Gaps vanished, fractures closed. The chaos of the broken instrument was being forced back into order by the sheer will and patience of the old man. Leo felt his own eyelids growing heavy. There was something incredibly peaceful about watching someone work with such absolute competence. It pushed away the anxiety of the world. Seeing things being fixed made Leo feel, in some small way, that everything could be fixed, that nothing was truly lost. The old man held the violin in a tight embrace. Mr. Abernathy did something that made Leo lean forward, pressing his ear against the wood of the clock. The old man was speaking to the violin. His voice was a low rumble, barely a whisper. Easy now, easy. You are not finished, old friend. You have simply forgotten your song for a moment. We will remind you. He picked up a piece of fine sandpaper. He began to smooth the area where the neck had been rejoined. Shh. Pain is not the end, Abernathy murmured, blowing the wood dust away gently. It is just the pause between the notes. You broke because you were rigid. We will make you strong again, but flexible. You will sing sweeter for the break. Leo felt a lump in his throat. He realized the old man wasn't just talking to the wood. He was talking to himself. Or perhaps he was talking to every broken soul who had ever walked through that door. This was the secret. This was why the repairs were miraculous. Abernathy didn't just fix the mechanical parts, he poured intent into them. He treated the objects as if they had dignity. He respected their history, even the painful parts. He dipped a cloth into a jar of varnish, a rich amber liquid that smelled of pine resin and spirits. He began to rub it into the wood. Rub, circle, rub, circle. Under the candlelight, the wood began to glow. The dull, scratched surface drank in the oil, revealing the deep, tiger-stripe grain of the maple underneath. The scar where the neck had broken didn't disappear, but it became beautiful. A thin, dark line that told a story of survival. The night wore on. The candle burned lower, pooling wax on the workbench. Abernathy didn't stop. He restrung the instrument. He polished the tuning pegs. He adjusted the bridge. Leo, hidden in the shadows, lost track of time. The hypnotic motion of the old man's hands, the smell of the glue and varnish, the steady drumming of the rain. It was a sensory cocoon. Leo's skepticism had dissolved hours ago, replaced by a profound awe. He saw the truth now. Mr. Abernathy wasn't a wizard. He was something rarer. He was a man who refused to give up on things that the world had discarded. He was the midnight mender, the silent guardian of lost treasures. Around 4 a.m., the work was done. Abernathy set the violin down on a velvet cloth. It looked magnificent. It gleamed in the semi-darkness, whole again. The old man took a step back. He wiped his hands on a rag. He took a deep, shuddering breath, and as he exhaled, his posture changed. The straight back slumped slightly. The steady hands began to tremble again. The vitality he had summoned for the work slowly drained away, leaving him just an old, tired man once more. He picked up the candle and blew it out. Smoke curled into the darkness. "Rest now," Abernathy whispered into the dark. "Tomorrow you sing."
Leo waited until he heard the old man slowly climb the stairs, his footsteps heavy with exhaustion. Only when the bolt clicked upstairs did Leo dare to move. He crawled out from behind the clock, his limbs stiff. He walked over to the workbench. The shop was dark, lit only by the gray pre-dawn light filtering through the wet windows. He looked at the violin. It was perfect, but it was more than perfect. It felt alive. Leo reached out but didn't touch it. He felt unworthy. He realized he had a lot to learn, not just about glue and wood, but about the heart required to heal the broken. Leo quietly retreated to the back room, pulling his blanket around him. He closed his eyes. The image of the steady, loving hands burned into his mind. And for the first time in years, he fell asleep without worrying about his future, lulled by the knowledge that even the most shattered things could be made whole again.
The storm had passed. In its wake, it left a morning of crystalline clarity. The fog that usually hugged the cobblestones of Old York had lifted, replaced by a pale, watery sunlight that filtered through the shop's dusty windows. It turned the floating dust motes into a suspension of liquid gold. Leo woke up stiff, but strangely refreshed. He folded his blanket and hid it away before Mr. Abernathy came down. When the old man finally descended the stairs at 8 a.m., he looked exactly as he always did, stooped, shuffling, and trembling slightly. There was no trace of the master craftsman Leo had watched in the dead of night. The velvet vest was gone, replaced by the stained apron. "Put the kettle on, boy," Abernathy muttered, not making eye contact. "It's a tea morning." Leo watched him closely. "You look tired, sir." Abernathy paused while wiping a speck of dust from a porcelain shepherdess. He gave a barely perceptible smile. "Some nights are longer than others, Leo, but the morning always comes." Leo looked at the counter. There, resting in its open case, lay the violin. In the daylight, the repair was even more miraculous. The varnish gleamed with a deep, reddish-brown hue. The crack was visible, yes, but it didn't look like a wound anymore. It looked like a vein of gold running through the wood, a mark of character rather than defeat. At 9 a.m. sharp, the bell chimed. Cling. The young girl returned. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. Her face was pale, her hands twisting nervously in her coat pockets. She stepped into the shop as if walking onto a gallows, terrified of what she might find. "Is it," she started, her voice cracking, "is it Gone? Mr. Abernathy didn't speak. He simply gestured to the counter. The girl walked forward slowly. She looked into the case. Her breath hitched in her throat, a sharp, audible gasp that filled the quiet shop. She reached out a trembling hand, but pulled it back, afraid it might be a mirage. "How?" she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes again. It was in pieces." "Wood wants to be whole," Mr. Abernathy said softly from his stool. "It remembers the tree it came from. We just reminded it." The girl picked up the instrument. She checked the neck, solid. She checked the bridge, aligned. She plucked the E string. Ping. The note hung in the air, clear and bright as a bell. "Play it," Leo said suddenly. He needed to hear it. He needed to know if the magic held true. The girl hesitated, then nodded. She lifted the violin to her chin. She raised the bow. She closed her eyes and drew the horsehair across the strings. The sound that filled the small antique shop was not just music. It was an emotion made audible. It was rich, deep, and sorrowful, but with a soaring undercurrent of triumph. The violin didn't sound like it did before the accident. It sounded better. The break had somehow opened up the resonance of the wood, giving it a gravelly, soulful depth that a new instrument could never possess. She played a few bars of a concerto. The notes danced around the ticking clocks, weaving through the shelves of discarded treasures. For a moment, the shop wasn't a dusty store in Old York. It was a concert hall. Leo looked at Mr. Abernathy. The old man was polishing a brass knob, looking down, hiding his face. But Leo saw a single tear track running through the wrinkles of his cheek. This was his payment. Not the coins the girl would leave, but this sound. The sound of something broken becoming beautiful again. The girl lowered the bow. The silence that followed was heavy and holy. "It sounds," she stammered, wiping her eyes. "It sounds like it has a soul." "Scars often deepen the voice," Abernathy murmured. "Now go. You have a recital to win." The girl placed a heavy pouch of coins on the counter, but Abernathy waved it away, taking only a fraction of the amount. "For the glue," he grunted, "and the varnish. The rest was just time, and I have plenty of that." She left the shop beaming, clutching the case like it was a chest of diamonds. The bell jingled merrily behind her. The shop settled back into its morning rhythm. The clocks continued their chaotic ticking.
tick-tock, tick-tock. Leo stood by the window, watching the girl disappear into the morning crowd. He turned back to look at Mr. Abernathy, who was back to his slow, trembling polishing. Leo had planned to leave this job next month. He had planned to find a modern workshop, somewhere with bright lights and laser cutters. But now, looking at the bent back of the old man, he realized he knew nothing. He knew how to fix machines, but he didn't know how to heal them. He walked over to the counter. He picked up a rag and a tin of polish. He stood next to the old man. "Sir," Leo said quietly, "the music box in the back, the one with the crushed gear. I was thinking, maybe tonight I could stay late. I'd like to try and make a new gear by hand, if you'd supervise." Mr. Abernathy stopped polishing. He looked up at Leo over the rim of his spectacles. His eyes were sharp, clear, and devoid of the act he put on for the world. He saw that Leo knew, and he saw that Leo was ready. A slow, genuine smile spread across the old man's face. "Tonight is a good night for gears," Abernathy said softly. "The fog is rolling in. It keeps the world away." Leo nodded. He felt a sense of peace settle over him, heavier and warmer than any blanket. He was exactly where he was supposed to be. The day passed in a blur of quiet tasks. As evening approached, the rain began to tap gently against the glass again. Tip-tap, tip-tap. The shop grew dim, cozy, and safe. Leo made a fresh pot of tea. He sat on his stool, listening to the Rhone and the clocks. He watched the dust motes dancing in the fading light. He wasn't just an apprentice in a junk shop anymore. He was a guardian in training. He closed his eyes, letting the rhythmic ticking lull him into a trance. The world outside was broken, yes, but in here, everything could be mended. With time, with patience, and with love. And with that comforting thought, the shop of lost things drifted slowly into the velvet embrace of the night. And so, our story comes to a gentle close. May your mind be calm, and your dreams be kind. If you're still listening, we'll be waiting for you here again with another story from Midnight Murmurs Studio. Until then, sleep well.